Today we're diving into the latest edition of the New York Times Metropolitan Diary, titled "I Thought, This Guy Must Be the Worst Negotiator Ever." It's a collection of reader tales capturing those only in New York moments, and this week's entries run the gamut from a spontaneous subway barter to a surprise opera invitation and a random act of kindness on two wheels. First up, Avery Lender writes in about a rainy night on the L train headed to a birthday party in Bushwick. Avery was wearing an old disposable rain poncho that looked like a slice of watermelon when the guy next to her said, "I like your poncho." After a quick thanks, he asked hypothetically how much she'd sell it for. Avery wasn't planning to sell the poncho off her back but threw out $5, immediately regretting the lowball. The guy didn't hesitate. "I'll give you 10. Avery thought, this guy must be the worst negotiator ever, but handed over the poncho and walked away with a crisp $10 bill. As he got off at the next stop, he explained, "My best friend's name is Watermelon. She's going to love this." Avery took the $10 and bought a chicken quesadilla. Next, Debbie E. Miller shares a story from when she and her husband lived in Midtown Manhattan. While working from home, she often heard a beautiful baritone voice drifting from a nearby apartment. It became a highlight of her mornings. One day, as they were leaving for the Whitney Museum, the mysterious singer stepped into the hallway at the same time. Debbie couldn't resist asking if it was his voice she'd been enjoying. He smiled and hoped he hadn't been bothering her. "Quite the opposite," she said, "it had been a joy." Her husband asked if he sang professionally. "I'm singing Marcello and La Boheme at the Met this month," he replied, as casually as if he worked down the block, and invited them to the next performance. They gladly accepted. That evening was unforgettable, her husband's first opera and her first since attending with her grandmother years earlier. As the music filled the Metropolitan Opera House, Debbie reflected on how, in New York, the most extraordinary invitations can begin with a neighbor practicing behind a closed door. The third entry comes from Rob Price, biking through Midtown on a warm spring day. At a stoplight, next to him was a man on a city bike carefully balancing a full-size air conditioner on the bike's basket. A delivery worker on the bike beside him pulled a bungee cord from his insulated bag and said, "You can have this." The light changed, and they all rode off. A fourth diary entry begins with a Brooklyn childhood memory but cuts off mid-sentence. That's this week's Metropolitan Diary, a reminder that the city's magic often lives in fleeting, unscripted exchanges. Thanks for listening.